Gospel reading today is from the Gospel according to St Matthew, chapter 10, beginning at the 24th verse. A disciple is not above the teacher, nor a slave above the master. It is enough for the disciple to be like the teacher, and the slave to be like the master. If they've called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs on your head are counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before others, I also will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before others, I also will deny before my Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the world. I have come not to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Those who find their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. This is the gospel of the Lord. Hello. The world in which Jesus sends his disciples is certainly nothing like a holiday visit to Disneyland. In today's gospel, we hear some fairly graphic details. I'm sending you out like sheep into the midst of wolves, so be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. Jesus goes on to describe in painful detail the costliness of following his call as disciples. You'll be flogged in the synagogues, dragged before kings and governors. Brother will betray brother to death. Children will rise against their parents and have them put to death. You'll be hated by all because of my name. The list of persecutions and disruptions is so specific that it may well reflect the early persecution of the first Christian communities. That is, editors of the gospel have reworked this part of Matthew's story to reflect the actual experience of the early church. It's a picture of a world in which life is cheap, nasty, brutish, and short. The persecutions are about, in the first place, public authorities, both in synagogue and state, with vested power protecting themselves from the new faith. Second, persecutions come within the closeness of the family unit. Families are circling the wagons, gathering to dispel individual members who want to run their own agendas and that threaten the security of known family patterns of life and behaviour. That is, those who are going to be followers of Jesus must expect their whole lives, their public lives as well as their private lives, to be under threat. The gospel offers some encouragement in the face of this litany of sadness. Not a single sparrow falls to the sky without the knowledge of the Father. If even a tiny little dot of a bird has value, how much more does the life of every believer matter to God? And even the hairs of our head are all counted. God forgets no one. The final crescendo, vindicating even those who have to face martyrdom. Those who lose their life for my sake will find it, Jesus promises. This is hardly a strategic plan that the disciples can all agree on. Each of them will take a different path in different contexts, with different challenges and different joys. This is not a prescriptive manifesto for successful following. Like riding a bush bike or learning how to negotiate the tricky world of love, the disciples will discover the meaning of their discipleship as they do it. This is, after all, an ongoing exercise in faith, not an examination in discipling competence or confidence. And our own discipleship will be the same. No matter how much we might have plans or strategies, we learn best to be faithful followers as we follow, reflect, reshape and reorient our lives over and over again. As St. John Henry Newman says, to live is to change, and to be perfect is to have changed often. As we gradually come to communal church life again after the COVID-19 lockdown, there might be some principles of discipleship underlying our rediscovery of what Jesus is calling us to do and be in this new and continuously changing context. I want to suggest three things that might help us as congregations and as individual followers reshape our way of being part of the church. First, our churches must learn to be communities sharing ministry, not just communities gathered around a minister and consuming what the minister provides. This is an opportunity to rediscover the call of Jesus to every baptised person. Second, there will be structures and ideas that we need to leave behind. We cannot do everything we've always done. The reality is that always in most parishes usually means something from the time of the priest before the one before we have now. The COVID-19 time has enabled us all to experience and practice new ways of being part of the church. Many of us have a deeper appreciation of our fellow travellers, and so a deeper sense of the pastoral dimension to our faith. Third, we're invited to put aside the numbing anxiety that so often paralyses our churches, and to embrace a more provisional approach to mission and growth. God is the only one who's in control. COVID-19 has helped us to remember that we are the servants, not the masters. The worry and the growth are God's business. Our business is to do the best we can with whom we can, whenever we can. This is still a big call, but it is enough. So if the Lord spoke to us today as he speaks to the disciples in Matthew's Gospel, he might have said these three simple things. Discover the nature and context for your ministry and get on with it. Stop trying to do everything. Do the things you can. Know that you're going to make a difference in the world. Don't worry. Get on with trying. Leave the worry and the results to God. It's a big call, but it is enough. Let us pray. Lord Christ, your insistent call disturbs our settled lives. Give us discernment to hear your word, grace to relinquish our preoccupations and tasks, and courage to follow empty-handed wherever you may lead, so that the voice of your gospel may reach to the ends of the earth. Amen.